First, we start this hour with President Cyril Ramaphosa taking a tough stance against suspended boss Tom Moyane from SARS. Moyane giving the president an ultimatum to meet a set of demands by Tuesday or he's heading to court. Moyane wants the state to pay his legal costs. Ramaphosa has rejected all of those demands. The presidency maintaining the disciplinary procedure is fair and just. Moyane was suspended back in March. Well, let's take you live now to a press briefing in the Northwest. We're waiting for this to get underway. It's Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Minister in the Presidency. This is the Inter Ministerial Committee on the situation in the Northwest, remembering as well the province has been put under administration. Let's now listen in.
Of Cabinet, which deliberated on the unfolding situation of the Northwest. And following that meeting, looking at how that situation is affecting services, especially health, that cabinet meeting decided that health should be put under Section 101B of the Constitution. And then the President decided to appoint an Inter Ministerial Task Team to give urgent attention to the matters of governance and risks facing the Northwest. And the ministers that were appointed into that Inter Ministerial Task Team were the Ministers of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation as the convener, and the Minister of Health, Minister of Finance, Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, as well as Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Public Works, and the ministers in the Justice Cluster, Minister of Justice, Minister of Defense, Minister of Police, and Minister of State Security. And the President said the ministers must remain seized with the Northwest until all the critical issues were resolved. Of course, following that, the technical team was established by these ministers, and the technical team was led by the DG of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, and all the others whose ministers were in the task team. Of course, our government communication, GCIS, as part of that. And that technical task team came to Northwest for 2 days before the ministers joined them. We came and met with the Premier and MECs and HODs for 2 days. Then on the third day, we met with the stakeholders. After that, we then submitted an interim report to Cabinet. Cabinet deliberated on that report, and they took the following decision. One, that the Northwest Province should be put under Section 101. So after invoking that section, then it was decided that all the ministers who have equivalent departments in the province must use this week to assess so that they can decide whether in their departments, depending on the situation they find, they are going to be, it's going to be 101A or 101B. And then, of course, the next cabinet will receive a consolidated report from all the ministers who have equivalent departments in the province. So the Inter Ministerial Task Team will consolidate that report, submit it to cabinet, and the President will also report to the NCOP. But this week, we also decided that since we had visited the province, we must visit at least 2 municipalities this week to assess the state of affairs in the municipalities. So that's why we spent the whole morning and part of the afternoon with the municipality here. And tomorrow we are visiting a different municipality. And this will give us a dipstick assessment of where things are in the municipalities. We are with the Deputy Minister of Cooperative Government and Traditional Affairs. We are with the Minister of Health, but we have delegated him during these 2 hours to go and perform a particular task in Mabato. And then we are also going to meet with stakeholders. We've been meeting with the council together with the workers, but after this, we're going to meet with the stakeholders like Saga, Sanko, SAMU, Business, Ratepayers Association, to hear their perspective about this municipality. So that's really what we want to inform you about. And then after the final assessment by each minister, then they will start putting plans and working on those plans to try and assist the province in their respective departments. The Ministerial Task Team will work until we think that the critical issues have been resolved, as I said. So I will leave it there. Suffice to say that, of course, whilst we are dealing with these governance issues, the JCPS is also looking at the issues that might need investigations, corruption or whatever that might need investigation. The JCPS cluster will also be dealing with that. So thank you very much. That's all I want to say at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. I think we will take only 2 questions. I don't know who's going to be the first one. You? Okay. All right. I think you'll be the first and then CD then. I hope it's not a representative. Samgelo. And then that's the one. That's 4. Ministers. You can start.
Okay. Thanks. My name is I'm from GateNet. From what
We've lost our feed to that as we began the Q&A session. Hello, I'm Gareth Edwards. With me, Karima Brown, joining us to unpack what we just heard from the Ministerial Task Team giving feedback on the Northwest. I see we have got the feedback. I'll just see if the audio is there. Before we do that, they're briefing the media on preliminary findings after engaging with stakeholders in the province. My team tell me the audio is back. We'll come to Karima Brown in a moment to unpack what this all means for the Northwest.
Things that had gone wrong and having former leaders account for things that had gone wrong in their tenures, has that been a consideration? And then just in terms of some of the input you've had from some of the stakeholders you've met with, someone was saying to me that there's a big issue around how some of the departments have been structured. What has the IMC at least seen so far with how some of the departments have been structured? What has been lumped together and what has been separated? What is the view so far? Thank you.
Samkelo Masego from ENCA. Mam Nkosazana, with all due respect, looking into that you yourself have a sterling track record in governance from your days from the Department of Health to International Affairs, and going towards the 54th National Conference of the ANC, the Northwest was one of your backers, namely the Premier Supra Mahumapelo. Looking at that, you are now investigating them for wrongdoing, corruption that have taken place in this province. How do you feel that you were backed by people who've allegedly run down governance of this Northwest province? And then the last question, Mam Nkosazana. Is there any possibility that some individuals may be held criminally for corruption and be charged, since you just spoke about the justice cluster also looking into investigating or prosecuting those who may have been found of wrongdoing? Thank you.
The last one. Yes.
Yes, I'm Tusangu Papa from the News Agency. There seems to be some confusion within the public in terms of the Section 100 that has been implemented. Is it an A or B? And if either or, when will it be implemented if it hasn't actually been implemented?
Oh, thank you. Is that all?
Yes.
Okay, I'll start with the last one. As you know, Section 101B has been evoked insofar as health is concerned. Section 101 has been invoked insofar as the entire province is concerned. But individual ministers have to assess the state of affairs in their individual departments and then decide whether it's 101A or 101B. Is that clearer? Okay. And then I'll go to the whether people will be charged. Obviously, as I said, the JCPS is investigating, and they are going to investigate anything and everything that is given to them to investigate. And they are going to then charge whoever needs to be charged if they find that somebody needs to be charged. So that's what is going to happen. I don't really want to answer the question you've asked in the sense that I was never backed by government and we're here on a government mission. That's the only reason I'm not going to answer it.
You can answer it outside.
The conference was the conference of the African National Congress, not of government. So I'm here in my government capacity, and I don't want to mix those capacities. And then, are we worried? I think obviously if you put a province, if you evoke Section 100(1) of the Constitution, it means you are worried, you are concerned. So that must be obvious, just from the action that has been taken. Have we spoken to the Premier? Well, when we came last week as the Inter Ministerial Committee, we did meet with the Premier and his executive, all the MECs, all the HODs, because they are in charge of government, so we had to interact with them, ask them questions so that we can make an informed decision. So yes, we did meet with the Premier last week. For the 2 days, the first 2 days that the Interministerial was here, we did meet with the Premier. On the last day, it was the stakeholders. And today, we came here. The acting Premier joined us when we were interacting with the municipality and the MEC for local government and house and human settlement. I think the other question you're asking about lumping, how
Different
departments have been.
departments and how they're structured.
Yes, I think that call has to be made by the individual ministers who are assessing, who have equivalent departments, and then they will inform us whether the structuring in their view is correct or not. So it's part of the assessment that they will do.
Okay, and then the issue about the investigations that he was talking about, the Premier himself said he wanted to undertake. What is the IMC's considerations around those ones?
As I said to you, the JCPS cluster will investigate everything and anything that's given to them by whoever. There's nothing that's, you can't say this one will investigate, this one we won't. If it's given to them, as far as I know, they will investigate everything. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you very much. I think this is not the last meeting.
No, it's not, but thank you very much for your patience and for your... We're done. Thank you.
Can we not talk to